Welcome to Creepy and Kiki. I'm your host, Robert, and on today's episode, I'm talking to Katherine Silva about Unbreakable. But first, Donna and I are talking about all the newest stuff. How's it going, Donna?
Hey Robert, it's going pretty well. I've said this to you before, but it always amazes me how cool your little intro voice is. I cannot stop. I'm like, do I know this person? Who is this guy? It's going well. Other than my old lady ranting that it's been rainy all weekend, but I actually like when it's rainy and gloomy. People don't, but I do.
I don't like when it's I'll admit. Well, first, thank you for the compliments on the opening. I appreciate it. But then uh I agree with you to an extent. I like when it's gloomy. I don't like when it's like overly rainy. Mostly just because my job entails me being outside.
Well, yeah.
And so I don't like it when it's like really rainy. And a lot of times if it's really rainy like that, then I don't even go to work. For those who don't know, I'm a DoorDash driver, so I can choose when and if I go to work. Um, but yeah, so if it's like really overly rainy, I just don't go. But if it's just a little drizzly and stuff like that, of
Mhm.
course I'll go out and everything. But I it's been kind of like that here the last week or so. It's been kind of rainy-ish and gloomy, but not too bad. I've actually been out pretty much every night, just driving. And so but yeah, I agree with you. Like today it's looking pretty cloudy. Yeah, it looks like yeah, I got to work tonight and it's going to be
Yeah.
nice and cloudy tonight, so which is great. Um makes it and the upcoming forecast looks like it's going to be rainy all week.
Yeah,
But
it actually
we'll
is. My
we'll
husband's,
see.
like, pissed about that because he's driving. He has
Yeah.
to deliver a lot of stuff t as well, and so he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, great, I gotta work when it's raining." I was like,
Yeah.
"Sucks to be you, nerd."
That's that's one of the nice things because I used to do Pizza Hut, and so that's
Mhm,
one of the nice things about transitioning over to this is that like whenever it was Pizza Hut, sure, that's when a lot of people will
mhm.
want delivery and stuff, and it's great for that aspect of it. But at the same time, like I'm just glad I don't have to do that anymore. Like
Right.
if it's just too rainy, I don't have to be out there sloshing and everything. So
Well, see, he doesn't have a choice because he works for a medical
yeah,
university, and he has to deliver
yeah.
all of the prescription meds and
Oh
vaccines,
man.
and so he has to be
Oh
so
no.
when he yeah, so when he leaves me, he's just like, "Just
Yeah.
I hope you have a good day because you get to stay at home." I said, "Dude, I'm
Yeah.
working. I know I'm at home, but I'm working my ass off at
Yeah.
this job." But yeah, he'll be all soggy when he comes. I feel bad, but I
Yeah. I
love it.
used
I absolutely love it. I'm in a better mood at work when I have gloomy weather. I don't understand it, but I love it.
Yeah, when I worked at DHL like 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago now. And I did that in Colorado, northern Colorado. So the winters were nice and icy and my van would get stuck on ice patches and stuff and I'd have to wiggle my van out. It was not fun, but I was also in
Mm-mm.
my 20s, so it wasn't as bad. So so I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. Now I'm like I'm 50 plus and now I'm like, yeah, I'm not going out and doing this stuff. I'm not gonna go out and bust my ass and
Oh my
break a hip.
gosh. Jeez. Oh my gosh. So,
Telling you.
it's been a slow week.
It really has been. Yeah, I only have a couple of things. But we're gonna start off with the big thing that you and I both got to enjoy this week, and that was the new Zach Kreger movie, Weapons. I know you were even more anticipating this because I apparently was not in the know when you originally brought it to me. But I've been super hyped for this.
Mhm.
It was so funny. We were talking a little bit off air, but I wanted to bring it on air because you were talking about your theater experience. My theater was really packed. What ended up happening too was I ended up um, so the at first they only had one showing
Mhm.
at the theater, and I got my ticket like weeks in advance. Like as soon
Right.
as the tickets were available, I got a ticket. So they had one 10:30 at night showing in IMAX. And as it got closer and closer, somebody sat next to me.
Oh,
Because the
damn.
theater got really crowded. Like the theater filled up because it was the only showing. So then like the week of earlier in the week, they opened up more showings for it.
Mhm.
So then I ended up moving down to the 7:30 showing, um, also in IMAX, and that was fine for like a day. And then people ended up sitting next to me there too, and I'm like, so this is important. It's not that I don't mind people sitting next to me. I like having people not sit directly next to me,
Mhm.
but because they're the recliner seats, it's not as bad.
Right.
But he, the problem is that Katrina, because she works for the theater, works for AMC, she can't get her ticket until 2 hours before the showing.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. So when I get a ticket, we've got to wait until that 2 hours before so that she can get it. And so if people sit next to me, like directly next to me, she can't sit with me. And so I ended up, and I'm weird. I like to sit all the way in the back, like on
Mhm.
the back row, preferably the middle, but it's not super important to be right in the middle for me. But just in the back. I don't like people sitting behind me.
I don't
It's
either.
not as bad anymore, again, because of the
The
way they
stadium
have the
seating.
recliner seats.
Yeah.
Well, because of the way they have the recliner seats, they actually build up little walls between the seats so people aren't like directly like with their feet at your head. And um so we ended up having to I shifted again to an earlier showing, to the, like, I think it was the 4:15 showing,
Mhm.
also in IMAX. And then my daughter was like, they have stuff that's not in IMAX too, right? And I was like, oh, I guess they do. But I was just like, well, let's try to. I'm not. Here's the thing. I don't care about IMAX. I think it's okay. It's fine. I've never watched anything in IMAX where I'm like, ooh, it's so much better that it was in this bigger screen. I don't
Right.
care. None of that matters to me. It's fine. I didn't even notice when watching it, like, ooh, it was so much bigger. But anyway, so I did get the 4:15 showing, and we finally did get um Katrina to sit next to me, and everything was fine. But every theater was pretty much packed.
Yeah.
At least the IMAX showings were
I think the
definitely
word of
packed.
mouth is really pushing people
Oh
into
yeah.
this, and that's a good thing because it's definitely made its money back already and probably gonna
Oh,
do better than everybody
and
so far.
everybody I follow online on Letterboxd, everybody has given it rave reviews.
Mhm.
4 stars and above. Um, yeah, it's amazing just how good, number one, this movie was, and number two, how across the board most people
Mhm.
are loving this movie. And it just, for me, it hits all of that. It's horror, it's funny, it's really funny.
It really
um and sometimes it's funny in a super dark way,
Mhm.
which I love dark comedy like this. Like this and the Monkey are like my two favorite movies of the year, of the horror movies of the year so far, because of that dark comedy.
Yeah.
It hits my buttons just so well. um but this just shows Zach Kreger is like, hopefully hopefully he keeps this going, because I keep saying this about directors, and like they kind of peter out on me, like Ari Aster and Robert Eggers. I'm just like, oh man, these guys started out so strong and then they petered out for me. I know it's not for everybody. Everybody else thinks Eggers is like machina gold. But but not me. But at least somebody like Jordan Peele's still hitting, you know, all cylinders. We'll see what his next one does. Hopefully it's as good too. Um, but yeah, so far Zach Kreger's 2 for 2 for me. Like, I love Barbarian and I love Weapons.
Yeah,
I know
same.
his next project is a Resident Evil movie, so we'll see how that goes. I've never cared about the games or anything, so we'll see. but
I had a similar experience. Well, not we bought the tickets before, and they were actually putting us in my little theater. They've got like, I don't know, 5 or 6 little theaters. Some of them are closets, like broom
yeah.
closets. And so when we bought it, they had us in a broom closet, and I was like, "Oh, I'm fine with that," because the particular theater we were going to be in was where I saw Midsummer, and the sound was really great. I didn't
Mm,
mind that it was small because the sound acoustics are very good in that room.
right.
But because they had such a big crowd, they actually moved us to the bigger theater, and we were so excited, and it was packed. Same thing, we usually get there, unfortunately, we have to get there, like, at least if not a half hour early, at least 20 minutes early because they fill up really quickly, and I'm the
No
same
assigned
way.
seats.
No assigned seats, it's just like a mom and
Oh,
pop kinda theater, so
yeah,
we
no,
always
thank
get
you.
there. Yeah, we always get there early. I used to complain about it, but now I don't because we have to get there early because I have to get the back row. I have to get the back
Yeah,
row in
yeah,
either the right
exactly.
or left side. I don't wanna be in the middle because if I gotta go to the bathroom, I don't wanna have to walk around a bunch of people.
Right.
I'm just particular with my movie going experience, and
Mhm.
these are not stadium seats, these are just, like, regular, you know, if a tall guy sits in front of me, I'm fucked kinda seats.
Oh,
So
man.
so we got there early, then it slowly started filling in, and it was working out perfectly. About 30 minutes in, a group of stoner dudes came and sat right in front of us, 4 guys,
Oh,
but they were actually quiet. They were a little too giggly, which is how I knew they were high, plus I could smell it off of them.
yeah.
Pretty sure I got a contact high when they came in the theater, but however, even with that going on, it was such a great experience, like, you're right, like, everybody in the theater got the jokes, people, we had one lady that was screaming, and it was like, "Holy shit, I have not been in a movie where somebody screamed because they were so scared in a
Yeah.
long time." It was so much fun.
No, this
Um
is the thing. Katrina actually, like, there was a sequence in there where she had brought her blanket in with her because it gets
Mhm.
cold in theaters.
Oh, yeah, it's
Um,
freezing there.
yeah, and so she actually like covered her face at one point. Like, I've not seen her ever. Like, she's not as immune to horror as I am.
Uh-huh.
But she literally covered her face because one sequence got really, really terrifying for her. Like, she was like in anticipation. I was like, no, you have to pull this back down. I like literally pulled it down so she would have to watch it.
Oh my god.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
she just yeah, it was crazy. Cause no, it's like that's the thing is like this movie is gory, it's hilarious, but it's also scary in parts, for sure. Like, again, I didn't jump or anything like that, but there's moments where you're just like, ooh, so
Mhm.
that it's just I like, without spoiling anything, it is really hard to talk about this movie. um just it is so good. And here's the thing, I haven't really cared for Julia Garner, but
Mhm.
I will give her this. I liked her in this movie a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
she was really good.
but this is definitely it's an ensemble piece. It's not just her story. Every major character gets a moment to shine in this. It's very, very good
I think
in
one
that
of the
way.
things that has him growing on me as a director, once again, I think you and I have already had this conversation before, where comedy people can do horror so well.
Yes.
He walked a very fine line of making this a horror comedy, and it wasn't a
Yes.
straight horror comedy, but there were so many comedic things in it that were also horrific that I I found myself going, "Oh shit, I should probably not be laughing at this," but I can't help it because it's just so goddamn funny. Um, I am a huge fan of his because no matter where you think the movie is going, it doesn't go anywhere that you think it is. Even if you sorta kinda figure it out, it still is not gonna end up the way that you think it's gonna end up.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the saving graces of watching his films. I'm with you. He's 2 for 2 for me at this point,
Yeah.
and, I can't wait. Yeah, Resident Evil, I I'm not a huge fan of the games, but I've watched them. I've seen gameplay and watched
Yeah.
the crappy movies and the crappy
I've
movies.
never seen a single Resident Evil movie.
You're not missing anything.
No, that's what I've heard.
Now, I tell you what I am excited about too, along with that, is that he has been in talks with DC to make a movie about that's allegedly called Henchmen, and it's about
Mm,
a particular henchman that takes down Batman by sheer luck, and it's supposed to have, like, appearances with Harley Quinn and the Joker, and
Interesting.
he's apparently wrote the script way before Barbarian, so that's something I would be interested to see as well, just because if he's got this kind of dark humor attached to it, I imagine that would be out of this
Well,
world.
and also I saw just probably yesterday that he has ideas for more stories in the weapons universe. So like if it's a I don't know if it'll be a direct sequel or maybe just another movie
I
in
wouldn't be
this
mad at
world.
that.
I would not be mad at it either. No, it's just I'm definitely curious as to what he's going to do. And yeah, I think comedians, because comedy is such a hard thing to do,
Mhm.
and make it successful as it is. I think, and horror is the same. I think they both have that fine line, and when you can do both in the same movie and do it successfully, I think it's amazing.
What's
And I
so
also think
crazy.
that comedy guys are great. I mean, him and Jordan Peele obviously are two guys that come from comedy backgrounds and
Mhm.
do horror. Same with like somebody like Bill Hader and stuff like that. They've
Yes.
like there's these I don't know, it's like the comedy and horror just mix so
They
well.
go hand in hand. It's
Yeah.
it's perfect, and I know, Warner Brothers has got, like, 6 of the, top films so far this year, and 3 of them are horror. I mean, they gotta be loving
Yeah.
this right now between Weapons, Sinners, Final Destination, Bloodlines, and then all of the other stuff that's come out that's not horror.
Yeah.
Man, they're eating over there. That's crazy.
Which is yeah, which is definitely crazy. So especially because Warner Brothers has been kind of bleh.
Exactly.
So because David Zaslav over there has been kind of messing stuff up. So it's kind of good that somebody over there's got something figured out. At least making sure to greenlight some of these good horror movies for sure.
So, if you guys
So
can't tell, we're telling you to go see this movie because we're
yeah.
so hyped up about it.
Yeah, definitely 100%. You should definitely be going and seeing this movie if you have not already. But by the you know pattern that I've seen on my letterbox, the most of the people I know who are you know regular moviegoers have gone and seen this now and have praised it very well. So
Yeah, my
I'm
daughter's already talked, like, 4 of her friends into going to see it last night, and they talked to her this morning, and they loved it. So, it's
yeah.
definitely gonna make a lot of money, and
Oh yeah.
I cannot wait to own this. I can tell you that right now.
Oh man, this is gonna be such a I'm gonna own this on physical easily. Hopefully there's some good stuff. And hopefully they put it on physical because Barbarian still hasn't
It's
been put out
still
on
not on
physical.
physical. What the
So
hell?
I hopefully this spurs Disney because Disney owns Barbarian. Hopefully this spurs Disney into creating a Barbarian disc like to go along with weapons.
Yeah, because 'cause they're gonna make a lot of money if they do. I mean,
I'm telling you.
I've seen concepts for the steelbook for the weapons when it comes out, and
Yeah.
dude, I already know I'm gonna buy it. It's just no-brainer.
Yeah.
Um, so now that we've gushed like fangirls for 10 fucking minutes about weapons, it's that good, y'all. I ain't lying
It's
to
really
you.
that good. I mean,
Um,
literally, that's all I did is I posted I did my review on Letterboxd,
I
and
haven't
then
done that. I need
put
to do that.
I posted and then I posted that. I just like the 4.5 stars. I gave it 4.5 stars, which is as high as I give a movie on a first viewing. Um, because 5 stars for me is like a movie that I've loved that I've watched multiple times, and then I give it a 5 star.
Mhm.
Generally 4 to 4.5 star movies will almost always become a 5 star movie for me down the road. Um, but that being said, so I posted that to Instagram and literally into my Instagram stories and literally just captioned it. Yes, it's really good. Or it's that good or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but
Yeah,
it
I
was
had like 3 or 4 people hit me up in my DMs on Instagram, and they were like, "Is the hype really? Is it warm?" Yes, carry your ass to the theater. Yes, it is.
yes, yeah. Well, and that was the same with Barbarian. Barbarian, I was kind of like on the fence about that. Um, and I just was like, okay, I finally went to the theater and was like, okay, this is everything that I was hoping it would be, but even more. So and that's what it is for weapons too, is
Mhm.
like we said, whatever you're expecting it to be, it's that and more, or
Mhm.
it's not that, but it's better than you think it's going to be.
Yeah, it really
Um,
is.
it's just it's amazing, and
I
I
always know it's
definitely
a
want to talk to you off air after this to talk about some specific performances.
Yeah, I always know it's a banger of a film when I go with my family and we all are we have different things that we want to dissect and talk about. And then, now it's already been a day and we're still dissecting and talking about the multiple layers in this film.
Hmm.
So that's how I know it's a banger because if it's one that everybody likes, they'll just be like, "Oh, it was good,"
Yeah.
and leave it at that. Nope, people are we're texting each other, we're sending memes. I
Yeah.
went to the store today. I can't tell you, but I went to the store today and I saw something and all I could think of was this movie. So I'll tell you about that after we get off the
Yeah,
air.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but it's yeah, just go see this movie, you guys. Please go see this movie.
Yes. Oh, 100%. Definitely should go see this. And then let us know. Tell us, did you think it was as good as we do? Well, all right. So let's go ahead and jump into our other stuff. Um, why don't you go ahead and start us off this week?
Yeah, so since I know that you love horror comedies and we just got to talking about sort of a horror comedy, there is an upcoming film called Cold Storage.
That one's on
Was
my
that one of
list as
yours?
well.
Oh.
Yep.
When I saw it, I was like, "Okay, this is right up your alley and my alley."
Yep.
But basically, the premise of the movie is when a mutating, highly contagious fungus escapes a sealed facility, two young employees are joined by a grizzled bioterra operative, and they must survive the wildest night shift ever to save humanity from extinction. I am already ready for this because this stars a barbarian star, Georgina
Yep.
Campbell,
Georgina
who doesn't
Campbell.
like she's so
She
pretty.
and she has embraced horror. Like she's in a lot of
Good.
horror stuff. It's crazy. Like I was just like, she keeps popping up in horror things. I'm like, yes, thank
And they're
you.
all different, and
So
she's different in
yes,
every one of them. That's what I love about her, and then it also has Joe Keery from
Joe
Stranger
Keery.
Things, and we
Yeah.
also have Liam Neeson, who is clearly on a roll and is never gonna stop working. So
Right.
so, um, this looks like a lot of fucking fun. It's got, like, shades of Return of the Living Dead, and it's got, like, any kind of, zombie virus movie. I'm already on board with this. It
Oh,
doesn't look a
absolutely.
huge budget, but it looks like it's gonna be a hell of a ride. What did you think about the trailer?
I liked it. I thought it was interesting. Of course, the star power in there, definitely a huge plus. I thought it was interesting too because it's written by David Kep, who is known for like having written Spider-Man,
Mhm,
co-wrote like Jurassic Park. He's written. He is like one of the like most like his movies have made um multiple billions of dollars. Like the movies that he's written.
right.
So it's so funny to see like this kind of like weird horror movie, like horror comedy, come from this guy. But it's great. No, also while looking through this, looking through the cast list on this, Sosie Bacon is also in this from Smile,
Mhm.
and Vanessa Redgrave.
Which
So
is
it's
odd, but not
this
really.
very odd, yeah. So it's definitely a weird looking movie, but it's definitely up my alley, of course. So I'm excited to check that out. Yeah, I had it on my list as well.
Well, it's so cute too because I think at one point in the trailer, she asked him, "Do you wanna go check it out?" And he's like, "No." And it's like, all I could think of was Return of the Living Dead. Is like, if you had just said no when he asked if you wanted to see this,
Yeah,
we wouldn't have been infected. But, it looks like it's gonna be cute and a lot of fun, so I definitely am excited for Cold Storage.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm very hyped for that as well. Um, all right. So my next thing is there's a new trailer for a movie called Shelby Oaks that's coming out.
That was one of mine
Um,
too. I was like, well,
I'm
once again, it was
telling
a
you, it
slow
was a
week.
slow week. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Shelby Oaks looks interesting. Here's the description. Who took Riley Brennan? A woman's desperate search for her long lost sister falls into obsession after she realizes that the imaginary demon from their childhood may have been real. Um, so I had seen some talk about this movie
Mhm.
because um, both Aaron B. Kuntz is a producer, and I believe, yeah, Mike Flanagan is also an executive producer on it. Aaron B. Kuntz did the Scare Package movies,
Oh, okay.
um, and uh, um, and of course Mike Flanagan um, needs no introduction. But also, this got Michael Beach and Keith David in it. So I'm excited for that. Although I did not see Keith David in the trailer at
I
all. I
yeah,
might
I
have
didn't see him
missed
in the
that.
trailer at all.
So which is weird. It's like if you got Keith David, put him in there. Um, but yeah, I'm interested. I see some people I know who um see things early. They've given decent reviews. So I'm excited for it. It looks good. It looks interesting.
Yeah, it does.
It looks creepy as hell. So I'm definitely excited for this, especially learning who's in the movie too. Keith David. Um, we need more Keith David.
We do.
Uh,
Always.
just keep him working, man. And speaking of, he's his show that he was on HBO called Duster. Um, it only got one season. It already got canceled.
I saw that.
Yeah, but still worth a watch. I feel like it's definitely still worth a watch. Um, so check that out. But yeah, no, Shelby Oaks looks interesting, and I'm excited that it's finally looks like it's about to come out soon. Because I've been hearing about it for quite a while now,
Quite a while, yeah.
least a year, and at least a year, so if not longer. So, but yeah, no, I'm excited for that. What else you got?
So I do have some movie news. There is a movie I'm kind of anticipating, and the title of it is Good Boy. It is a supernatural horror film that pretty much surrounds the narrative of a dog. It's a dog
Okay.
in a haunted house who is trying to keep his humans safe. So
Okay.
I don't know, the perspective of a film from a dog. I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I know the dog will be fine, so if anybody wants to know if the dog dies, he does not die. But it is interesting that they're trying to tell this tried to story of a haunted house through an animal
Yeah.
and him trying to communicate with his owners and let them know that something's not right. So, it's the ultimate test of loyalty and companionship, I'm assuming, for this poor doggo that, you know, is going through it. He's probably gonna be going through it. So
Yeah.
so I'm excited to see it, but it is called
Interesting.
Good Boy. There's a ton of movies. I hate when movies do this. A ton of them are named Good Boy. You're really
Yeah.
gonna have to dig deep for this one, but it is coming out in October, so that at least will let you know. Good Boy 2025. Definitely make certain that it's the one about the dog and not any of the 100 other movies that are titled Good Boy.
Yeah, because when you said that, it made me think of the one that was put out by Hulu with Judy Greer. Um, I haven't watched it, but that one involves her with a dog as well.
Yeah, there's
So
too many goddamn
yeah,
movies with that name. But but this is something unique to see it from a perspective of an animal, that's
yeah,
trying to help
definitely.
their owners.
All right, cool. All right. The only other thing I have is they just did a trailer for the 4K release of the Nightmare on Elm Street collection. So they are up until recently, or up until this comes out, the only Nightmare on Elm Street movie that was available on 4K was the original
Mm,
first one. This is going to have all seven of the movies, all the original six plus um, Wes Craven's. Uh,
what is
I'm
that, New
completely
Nightmare?
blanking. New Nightmare. Thank you. Oh my God, I was completely
That's
blanking on the name.
okay.
Oh, getting old sucks.
Stop
Anyway.
that.
No, that's just I've always had memory issues. Anyway. But no, it's yeah, so all the 4K versions of that. So it won't include a 4K version of Freddy versus Jason or the 2010 remake, which I know most people are like, okay, good.
Good.
Um
Yeah.
so but yeah, I think probably the Freddy versus Jason will probably come out via maybe even Arrow or somebody like that, because Arrow's been putting out they put out Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X, and the reboot of Friday the 13th. So we may get a Freddy versus Jason 4K from them. Um, but this is yeah, this was a full 4K for the Nightmare Collection. I mean, your mileage may vary for the movies. I say there's at least a good 4 out of the 7 for
Mhm.
sure. Um, that I wouldn't mind. I'll probably get this just to have them all.
Right.
Just because I mean it seems like a good collection. I mean, and maybe they'll also release them individually, so you can have them all one each on a shelf or something like that. I don't know. Um, but definitely I think worth it, at least for the four that I would consider the best ones, 1 through 3 and New Nightmare. Um, I'm not a big fan of 4, 5, and 6, so but I know there's definitely people who love those, at least 4 and 5. I don't think anybody likes 6. So
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not me, but I'm sure there's somebody
no,
out there that
no,
likes
I'm
it.
sure there is. There's people who love Jason Goes to Hell, and Jason X. And I'm not gonna lie, I did buy those on 4K because I like to have everything, because I already have the big Blu-ray collection from Scream Factory a few years ago. But I was like, I'll upgrade to 4K, even if I probably won't watch them that often. Um, but yeah, no. So it looks cool. Definitely, I think worth getting if you like most of the Nightmare movies. So, I know that there's going to be some alternate versions in them.
Mhm.
There's like some that have the like an unrated version or something like that. They're also going to be there's going to be 3D glasses in it for the 3D sequences in Nightmare 6. So, so yeah, so it'll be interesting for sure. But yeah, go check out that trailer. I'll have it in the show notes as well. But yeah, it looks cool. So, what else you got?
So the last thing I have, it's not horror related, but that's okay. It is a movie that's going to be debuting on Netflix this month, the month of August, and it's called The Thursday Murder Club. And it's,
Mm,
have you seen this trailer?
it's the one with Helen Mirren, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I saw
apparently,
somebody talking about it. I didn't
yeah,
see the trailer.
and I think it's just because, Ryan Johnson and Kenneth Branagh have kind of revitalized the whole murder mystery kind of theme that people like to watch. So
Right.
this is based on a series of books, but this particular one is how the Thursday Murder Club comes together. And I really like the premise of it because it looks like within this club, they each have a specific background. So, like, one of them is one was a spy, one was a nurse, another one was a psychiatrist, and I think the other was like a trade union official. So we've got Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, Ben Kingsley, and Celia Emery, I think is her name. Um, and they just come together to solve a murder mystery, and it's kind of cute because they're obviously geriatrics, doing all of these kind of major sleuthing in a murder mystery. But what also fascinated me in this trailer is that Naomi Aki is in this, and she's a PC that's helping them, or they're helping her, and she's also helping them get like information to solve this crime.
Mm.
But it looks like a lot of fun. I mean, Richard E. Grant's in it. It's got a really great cast. I think David Tennant was in the trailer. Um, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. If you like murder mystery stuff, if you like shenanigans, if you like seeing old people getting some weird shit, this might be for you. It's definitely going to be for me because Helen Mirren and Pierce Brosnan, they were just in the Guy Ritchie show. I can't remember what the name of it is. Mobland.
Mobland, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm kind of hyped to see the 2 of them again in something different that's vastly different than what they just did in Mobland, but, watch the trailer, it looks like a lot of fun. I think it'll be something if it does well, they'll probably make a few more of these. Unfortunately, they
Right.
didn't do that with The Residents. That was a really good murder mystery show that they had on Netflix that got canceled as well. But hopefully this one, maybe they'll stick with it and do some additional movies.
Well, we'll see. Netflix is known for canceling things after
They
their second
do.
season, so
It's
they're like,
terrible.
two seasons and we're done.
Yeah, I don't think you watched The Residents, but it was
I
such a
did
great
not.
murder
Yeah.
mystery, like a miniseries. I wish the Cordelia Cup was the main character, and that was such a great character for investigating. I would have loved to seen a crossover between her and Benoit Blanc because they are just two of a kind. It's really great.
That's the one that had what's her name from Orange is the New Black, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I did not. I didn't see it. Yeah. Um no, yeah. Definitely I saw the stuff about this and I was like, "Oh, okay, that looks interesting."
Mhm.
Um but yeah. All right, cool. Well, that's all I've got. But before we move on to the rest of the show, why don't you let everyone know what you've got on your show this week?
Weapons. Weapons. I mean, and I'll be 100% honest with you, it's gonna be a micro episode, like, it's gonna be very small because there's not too much I can talk about without spoiling this one,
Yeah.
but I do need to talk about Zach Crager and how beautiful his brain is, at least for, 20 minutes and let you know that you desperately should go into the theater to see this movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a spoiler-free review of Weapons. I'm sure I will give a full review later in the year once everybody has seen it and, I'm not being annoying with it.
All right, cool. Definitely. All right. Yeah, I've already got it planned to uh, talk about it later in the year on my show. So,
Mhm.
um, which I will see about see if you want to come on for that, or uh, maybe I'll have to get somebody else if you're not interested in talking about it at that time.
Are you
Um,
serious? Are you playing with me right now? Robert, Robert.
I know.
But if you want to talk
I
with
was
somebody
playing with
else
you.
about it, that's fine.
Well, I definitely know I want to have you on for centers, to talk centers. So
Yeah.
and they'll come out right around the same time. So we'll see. I don't know how we'll organize that, but yeah, we'll see. Hey, I love having everybody else on, but you're always my main go-to for all of these. So it definitely might be a possibility for sure.
I don't have a problem with that, you know
I
me.
don't either. All right. Well, that's all we've got for this episode. Uh, Stay tuned because I'm talking to Katherine Silva about Unbreakable right after the break here. But until then, stay creepy. On today's episode, Katherine Silva returns to the show to talk about Unbreakable as part of my M. Night Shyamalan series. Katherine is an author whose new book, Where the Soul Goes, which is described as grief horror, dystopian, queer, and a road trip gastro horror set in an alternate 80s timeline. And it's coming out September 9th from Trueborn Press. Welcome back to the show, Katherine.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great having you back on. Last time you came on for part of my um uh what was it? My 80s kinder trauma
Yes.
series. So this time, you're back for something a little different, which I appreciate you coming back on for. Um but yes, this time we're talking not horror, but we're talking Unbreakable by M. Night Shyamalan, who's generally known as kind of a horror director, but I've never really considered him a horror director. He just kind of plays nearby that arena. So,
Mhm.
but The Sixth Sense being like his one true like horror movie, I think, in a way. So. But this one is about superheroes, and actually one of the very first true, like, I think, serious works in the superhero genre. Um,
Mhm.
and being a big superhero fan. I've always been a comic book fan, and this predates the MCU. This movie came out in 2000, the same year that the first X-Men movie came out. So the
Oh
first
yeah.
real inklings of serious comic, but like them taking comic book movies very serious, like is like right around this time period. Um,
Mhm.
we had Blade just a couple of years before. Um,
Great.
and yeah.
Yeah.
But this one really kind of like they kind of tried to like the studio because it was Disney, they tried to kind of like downplay the superhero. They wanted to upplay, like they wanted, because he just this was literally his follow-up to Sixth Sense. And it's a bold shift too,
Mhm.
when you think about it, and so they they didn't know what to do with it. And the movie itself did well, but like, and because it was a Shyamalan movie, it did well. And it was his follow-up, so everybody was it was very into it. But like I remember there being a lot of discussion about will what does this lead to? Especially because, like I said, at the first X-Men movie had just come out. The Spider-Man movie was going to come out in a couple of years, and what all this meant for comic book movies, and or you know what it all meant in general. So,
Mhm.
um, which, come to find out, kind of led to some nice things. So I mean, to varying degrees if you like what has come afterward.
Yep.
So, but so what were your when did you see this, and what were your initial thoughts on it?
So I saw this shortly after it came out on like probably VHS still back then.
Right, right,
And it was a family movie, probably. Um, and probably the kind of movie that my parents regretted renting afterward, just based on the dark content of it. But
right,
but I don't think it stayed with me as well as some of M. Night Shyamalan's other movies. Like I I definitely love the first, we'll call it five that he did.
right.
Um and certainly the others more. This one was a sleeper. I came back to this
Yes,
one purely because of the soundtrack, uh,
yes.
which is beautiful and not something that you necessarily think of when you think of superhero movie. Um, and and then I rewatched this again, I don't know, probably 10 years ago or something like that, and then was like, "Oh yeah, this was a good movie." Like it and then rewatched it very recently, like Tuesday night, and had some thoughts that I didn't have 10 years ago, because now we've
Right.
seen M. Night Shyamalan release a handful of other movies since then in varying degrees of good and bad. And I noticed a lot more of his like token things in Unbreakable that I obviously wouldn't have noticed back then necessarily. But what I did appreciate about this movie was that it wasn't horror. There were certainly
Right,
horror elements, particularly in the latter third of the movie. Maybe not even,
right,
uh, but it had this like quiet, almost suspense to it that I really,
mm-hmm.
um, which is not something that you normally see superhero movies going for. It's all about the action. It's all about the showing the hero and all the superpowers he's got and him being heroic.
Right. No, I agree. I think it's an interesting study in what you can do. And I think that other movies that have come afterward have other superhero genre movies have done something similar. There
Mm-hmm.
are quieter ones, um, but they are few and far between. We go for more of the bombast, and that's what sells. And so doing something quieter um is generally reserved for more of like an independent style thing. And especially for this one being that this is an original idea by Shyamalan. This is not based on anything
Hmm.
prior. It's an interesting movie in itself, just for what it does, what it kicks off. Because I do think that there's a legacy to this movie, not just in the terms of that he eventually finally follows up on this, because he had intended this to be a trilogy of movies,
Hmm.
or the start of a trilogy of movies. But because I think the idea wasn't quite there yet for him, he went off to do other things. I do agree that the first five movies that he did, these first four, really the Disney four that he does from um Sixth Sense to The Village, and then tack on Lady in the Water as his first big five. They are, I was thinking about this last night too, is that these are his variations on iconic stories. Sixth Sense
Yeah.
is a ghost story. This is a hero story. Um, Slash action movie, even though like there's only like one real action sequence. Signs is the alien invasion story. um the Village is like what is it, like a folk tale.
Yeah.
And then Lady in the Water is a fairy tale.
Yep.
And so it's like he's got these little like interesting things that he was doing, these variations. He was telling these old stories in his way, and I kind of really love that about that, is he was making these iconic stories and kind of like, I don't know, repackaging in his own vision, but also in a new way. And to go back to what you were saying about the soundtrack, James Newton Howard did all of his scores from Sixth Sense up until After Earth. So like every one of these scores feels iconic in their own way.
Yep.
And just like it had been a while since I'd seen Unbreakable. It's been a while since I've seen most of his early stuff. And I was just, as soon as that music came in again, I was just like, oh my God, I love this soundtrack.
Hmm.
This score is so good. And I used to listen to this all the time, just like on its own, this and the Sixth Sense soundtrack all the time.
Yeah.
Um, because they're so good. Um, and I think it's funny too because my daughter, she's a big fan of the Hunger Games franchise, as am I. And so one of the things when they were announcing, not the new movie that has yet to come out, but the last movie that was new,
Hmm.
she was hoping that the um person who did the scores for the previous movies was going to be back for that, and it's James Newton Howard, which makes
Oh,
sense
cool.
because so he's been doing all of the Hunger Games soundtracks since then, or the scores since then as well. So um but yeah, I don't know, I just, this I as well as the movie did when it came out, it was still one of those ones that a lot of people did not see. And I think it's one of those ones that, because it's from 2000, there's a whole generation of people who may not have seen it at all yet.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's one of those ones that when people discover it, they're gonna, I mean, hopefully, they'll be wowed by it, because I think it's one of those movies that just, it will, for the most part, stand the test of time. There's a few things in there that are like, very of its time. But I think that the movie transcends that,
Yeah.
as do most, if not all, of his early of Shyamalan's early movies. So, um, but this one, like I said, it follows the Sixth Sense, and it he wrote this one with Bruce Willis in mind. And the transition between the two characters, it's interesting because both the character he plays in Sixth Sense and this one, they're both kind of very sad characters. They're just kind of,
Yeah.
going through the motions of their existence. So go ahead, you were going to say something.
No, I was agreeing. It just he's very quiet. Um
Yes.
More, and it is like things happen to him and he
Right.
reacts, and that's a lot of the character in both movies, but especially this one. There's just
Right.
not a lot of impetus for him to like do anything. There's not a lot of motivation, which is kind of the point.
Right.
Because then that his whole character changes when he meets uh Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
And
Right.
um and so he is inspired to learn something about himself anyway, and
Right.
just letting things kind of keep degrading in his existence,
Right.
um, which begins with the train. And
Uh-huh.
I think I noticed it immediately when I was watching the beginning that this movie and The Sixth Sense, and I didn't notice it as much in Signs, um, there's a lot more attention to detail on camera angle in both of these movies. Like the way that the camera work is done is an integral part of the story. And
Right.
um and I really appreciate that.
Right. I think this one, especially because this one is trying to mimic the language of comic books. I think that's where we get a lot more of um, that's why we're getting a lot of the angles that we get, a lot of upside down or skewed angles at different
Mm-hmm.
times, which when you look at it, there's definitely a language there. Even in cinema, it's translating both the cinema language and the comic book languages into one, because the way that camera angles are done are meant for the director to translate certain things. We get a lot of when we see Elijah, Samuel L. Jackson's character, we get a lot of those angles that are through mirrors or through
Mm-hmm.
glass and everything like that. Lots of things that both are about who he is as a person, because of his disease, but also because of who he is, as we find out who he is later. Um, their hints and tells and stuff, and it's the same with um Bruce Willis's character David. His is all weird angles and stuff like that too, because it's like I feel like you're getting glimpses, like you said with the train, you're getting this perspective of, it seems like it's from the kid's perspective that is sitting
Mm-hmm.
in front of him. So you're getting this backward, awkward, like between the two seats, angles between when he's talking to the woman. Um, and it's definitely very interesting. It's very, again, goes back to the language of comic books via the language of cinema, where you get the individual panels of somebody talking back and forth. Um, and I love that. I think that's I think that's and maybe it's something that's still part of his language now, but I feel like that is something maybe that's missing from his
Mm-hmm.
movies. I still love his movies, his current movies and everything. But there is something definitely missing from that, and you might be right that it's this camera work. It's this attention to, specifically setting the cameras up in ways that just are very interesting and very uniquely what made his look his own. And I think maybe, it's like maybe that goes into like maybe he is, because he makes these five movies, and I would argue that at least these first five are very visually interesting, very,
Mhm.
like we said, they're very specifically about these kind of things and his versions of these. But then you get out of that. He starts to to move into other things. He does the three that I'm not covering, and then gets back into stuff with the village, and everything starts making a name back for himself. But like, but I wonder if that the negativity towards his movies that started to happen towards the end of these five,
Mhm.
that this is what caused him to just go, screw it, people don't care anyway. Um, and then that's where his movies, even now, most people are still can agree that they're good, but maybe they're not as good as they once were. And maybe that's
Yeah.
that's the cause of it. I can't say for certain, but yeah.
It's what's hard is that you can see the change in uh I guess the nuances from The Sixth Sense up to Lady in the Water, which I
Yeah.
still really appreciate as a film, but
Right.
you can sort of tell in that movie that there's just a little bit less giving a shit, I guess, going on.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
you
he'd been
know,
having a lot of like, well, and again, I think that, because the first four are done through Disney, and I think The Village didn't do super well, and he was kind of probably disappointed in the fact that the marketing had presented it as a horror movie when it's not really a horror movie. It's a love story,
yeah,
like folktale type situation. And then um and then by Lady in the Water, he had to go someplace else for that one, and he was probably just like he was still trying to do that, and then that one didn't do that well, and it's just like, oh, okay. Like I'm done
yeah.
trying to do interesting things. I'll just churn out some things. And that's why, even though I'm not covering it, that's why I feel like sometimes The Happening is this weird movie that, and I know
Oh
some
yeah,
people
about
love
that
it.
one.
What?
I'd forgotten about that one. Oh God.
But that one is so weird because I truly believe, I feel like, because you there are people, the people take out the lines from Mark Wahlberg and stuff like that and just present it. It's like, look, this is how bad of an actor Mark Wahlberg is. And then it's like, look, I agree that Mark Wahlberg's not a great actor. He's not that bad. And I feel like, because even Zoe Deschanel and John Leguizamo in that movie are intentionally acting bad, and I feel like it's almost like a weird thing, like, because even the like the twist of the story or whatever in that one is is weird. And it doesn't make any sense or whatever, and it's just like, I can see where maybe he was putting out a movie and he's just like, screw it, I'm just gonna screw with people now. um
Yeah.
that's what that movie has always felt like to me, is just like a screw you to the audience. I'm gonna make an intentionally bad movie so that you can see what it would really be like. I can't say for certain. He's never come out and said anything that I know of, but
Yeah. I think what I mean, I know we're supposed to be talking about Unbreakable, but I will just my 2 cents about The Happening
mhm,
are that I think it was partially director error. I think it was partially casting error as well.
mhm,
Um, and maybe I have no idea about the budget or anything like that, but maybe there was also some budgeting issues.
right,
But I'm gonna say something that is a very unpopular opinion. Sorry,
okay,
guys.
no, that's
I
okay.
I am not a fan of Zoe Deschanel in any kind of serious role. I don't think she can act seriously. I think in New Girl, she's hilarious.
Yeah,
She is
New
playing
Girl's
to her
wonderful. I love that
strengths
show. Yeah,
in New
yeah.
Girl as a comedian. But I've seen a lot of her other serious acting, and I'm just kind of like, it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and so I would say miscast. I would say Mark Wahlberg miscast.
Yeah.
And probably John Leguizamo miscast. Uh, so, but returning to Unbreakable, very well cast. Um,
I
you know,
I would say I generally love this cast. I'm not a big fan of Robin Wright in anything that she's been
oh,
in. I don't know. She's always bothered me. No, I like going through the the trivia of this. Julianne Moore was originally cast in the role,
oh,
but ended up backing out because she got the role of Clarice in Hannibal. So,
oh,
which
gotcha.
I understand,
Yeah,
bigger role.
yeah,
And so Robin Wright gets this one. And it's fine. She's doing an okay job. I don't hate her in this. I also just don't love her in this. And so, um, but she's to be fair, she's not in it that much. So I'm okay with it. And she's and but Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson are two of my favorite actors. And getting to see them play with each other in this is just it's great. They have a great dynamic. Um, I would have loved to have seen them do more past this because they'd done a couple of other things previous to this. Um, Most notably Die Hard with a Vengeance.
mm-hmm.
But Sam Jackson to me, like Bruce Willis is great in this, but he is very much sleepwalking through it. But which is fine. It's the character, it's the role
Yeah,
that he's supposed to be playing. But Sam Jackson, as always, for me, he's hands down one of my very favorite actors, and he's doing a phenomenal job in this.
yeah,
Um, I love this role for him. I'm glad that he eventually gets to get to play it again in Glass for better or worse. But it's to me, um, the role of Elijah just is so good. Sam Jackson, I watch him pretty much everything. So, what'd you feel
yeah,
about the character?
yeah. No, he's definitely the strength of the movie as far as characters go. I
Right.
mean, everything from I think the scene that really like hit me was when it shows him as a kid and his arm is broken and he's sitting
Hmm.
inside. He doesn't want to go outside. Um, and the music in that scene also really spoke to me because it's a beautiful piece. But, his mom bribes him by saying that there's going to be a present for him out on the bench across the street. And he goes out to get it. And it's such a beautiful scene and such a like wonderful beginning to his story. Because you can see the darkness, but you can also see the light there. And
Right.
um, I think it might be one of my favorite parts of the movie. Um, and then the other part is in the comic book store.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, I think he gets to have the most fun, honestly, in that movie because he gets
Right.
to show a more wide range of emotion um, than the other characters who are very static, and they're they never really come out of it, I guess, but they're meant to be portrayed in that way to just show how much of a dynamic personality he is. So,
Right.
um, and I think the kid also does a really good job, who is, now an adult and in
Right.
lots of other movies. He's extremely, you feel for him uh,
Yeah.
when they're in the basement and they're, putting weights on
Yeah.
it
It's
just,
such a great scene.
it's a really good scene. The kid keeps getting
Yeah.
further and further back.
I love that.
He's like
I
in
was
the
rewatching
closet.
it. Yeah, he's over in the corner and he's up the stairs and he's just like he's afraid like at each point because he's like adding more and more weights for his dad and everything. And then he's just it's such an effective scene without having to like it says so much by saying so little.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, no, it's just yeah, the hero worship that that kid has for just his dad, even before his dad starts doing all the superhero-y stuff.
Mhm.
That just he loves his dad so much, and it's a heartbreaking thing that's going on because obviously the parents are just for whatever reason their marriage is breaking. It's not
Mhm.
very clear. There doesn't seem to be any one inciting incident. It seems to be just a slow degradation of a marriage. Um,
Yeah. I don't know.
which is
I would
go ahead.
add though that the whole thing about him like giving up his career for her is
Hmm.
probably the reason this just like low broiling resentment and like I'm not doing what I wanted to do kind of stuff.
Right. Well, and that's the interesting thing though too, because it doesn't come across as like a resentment. It just comes across as a sadness. Like I don't even think like he can even articulate that. Like he did it for her.
Yeah.
And that because he wanted to be with her. But then he's just there's a sadness to him because it's like I think what the movie's trying to tell us is that he's got this sadness because he's got this unrealized potential in him.
Mm,
Um, that because he's so sad that the wife is just like, oh, I'm tired of this. Like you're just like mopey and sad all the time. There's no, we're not happy. And and it's once Elijah starts to bring that out and starts to question that for him. And it's not, and that's the interesting thing is that the train crash doesn't even like make her come back to him. Like you see that part like at the beginning where he comes out of the where they're leaving the hospital and they even like the son wants them to hold hands, but as soon as the son's not looking, they stop holding hands.
yeah.
Like it's just like even that couldn't bring them back together.
Well,
Um
there is the scene
yeah,
after where, she knocks on his door and asks if he has been cheating
been with
on
somebody,
her.
yeah.
But she
Yeah.
had come up there to say that she wanted to start over because of what happened
Yeah.
on the train.
Yeah.
So it does. It's just, not instant. It,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it took her some time to process. Yeah, no, you're right. Um, but yeah, I think once he gets on the path that Elijah has set him on, I think that's when things start to change
mhm,
for them. And that she starts to see, even though he's still kind of kind of still moping a little bit, it's like
mhm.
there's something in him that's changed and there's like I don't know almost like a purpose in him that she's not recognizing quite yet. um and I don't know that she ever does. Sorry, my camera keeps getting weird. But she there's yeah, so she as far as we see in the movie, she never finds out that he's got these powers and whatnot, and that the son is the only one to ever know, which you find out more of in the in Glass.
Yeah.
um but yeah, the family dynamic is interesting for sure, and I think everybody's doing a great job at playing it. um Especially the kid. For the kid's doing okay. I think he's a decent enough actor as far as child actors go. Um, there's he's definitely no Haley Joel Osment.
Sure.
But he's doing okay. Um, but yeah, no. But just everything with like going back to what you were saying with Elijah, being a kid and everything, those sequences are great. There's actually a deleted scene too, that they ended up having to cut. I guess it was like the most complicated scene they had done too, and it was actually at a
Oh,
they created a whole fair, um, and
oh,
um, and it's a sequence where Elijah, as a kid, gets on a tilt-a-whirl,
oh God.
and yeah, and so he's got these huge stuffed bears, and he's got them wedged in on the side, and he's got his sweater that he takes off and he puts on the bar to protect him. Um, and so he feels like he's protected and everything. And then he's on it, and his mom's looking for him, and she sees him, and it's about to start. And he's like, "Don't worry, mom, it'll be okay." And then, of course, it starts, and he's having fun and everything. And then he notices the teddy bears, the big teddy bears, have slipped down, and they're no longer protecting him.
Mm,
And then because of the way the tilt-a-whirl is and rocking it back and forth, he ends up slamming on into both sides and ends up on the floor of the tilt-a-whirl, just like in a heap.
yeah,
And it's very, very effective scene, but I get why they pulled it out, because they're just like, well, we
yeah,
already know about him. Like, sure, it's a great sequence, and it was probably like, you know, for them it was the most complicated scene to get done because of all the extras and everything else they had to deal with.
yeah,
But it was redundant. I like all of the so I watched all the deleted scenes that were from this and everything was there were some interesting bits that they did, but it makes sense why they were cut. Like there's a moment where David is talking to a priest, and then the priest has had and because David is like, what does this mean? Does this mean I'm a miracle or something like that? And the priest is like, look, I had family who died, and each one of the well, somebody died in the plane crash, multiple people died in the hotel fire, and then my nephew was on the train with you. Um,
oh,
and he's like, I can't give you what you need. Like this is I'm all out of miracles. Um so it's a great sequence. And Shyamalan kind of has a little intro to it, and he says writing that sequence was what gave him the tone of the movie.
Mm,
And so, but it was redundant because there was stuff you find out about later and stuff. Um,
yeah,
but um, but so it's interesting the story bits that he had in there, but then had to remove um
yeah. I
this.
almost feel like that could have stayed in because what
Yeah.
I felt was not portrayed as strongly as it could have been was the previous disasters and their effect on
Hmm.
the city and its citizens. Like,
Right.
there's lore that we're supposed to know
Yes.
about
Yeah.
and understand, and there wasn't enough really like I don't know, there
Well,
wasn't
because the
really
only time,
enough to
yeah.
weigh it down. I didn't feel anything from knowing that there was like a hotel fire or a plane crash. I was just like, oh, is that specific to this city? When did that happen? Like,
Right.
is
Well, and
this
that you only find out about that through Elijah, because he's talking
yeah,
about that when you find out, he's like, "Oh, I bet, with these disasters, I was looking for these certain words to be said." And then so you're kind of like, "Oh, like that's a little weird." But yeah, without knowing more about how that had affected people or what it actually meant for other people, then yeah, kind of I could see that. It definitely loses some of its effectiveness until the end when we get like that drop. Um, but yeah, so I agree with you. I think that scene could have definitely stayed in, um, and would have given him, I don't know, it would have given David maybe another layer of guilt in a way, being that he was the sole survivor of that.
but
And
also would have been more impactful.
Yeah, and I don't
And
mean guilt in a bad way, but like a sense of purpose, like a way to change this, like the fact that he was the sole survivor of this, and make it mean something. Um, and so I thought, yeah, that definitely should have been kept in. Um, but I mean, I also understand why he took it out. Um, uh, there's a little Easter egg in this that I guess I don't know if he meant it at the time. So later on, after Split came out, there is a um some people had a fan theory because spoiling Split for now. We'll come back to it later, but in the like the after credits sequence or whatever of Split, you find out that it's in the same universe as
Hmm.
Unbreakable and that it's effectively an Unbreakable sequel. But then you find out some people had a fan theory that the woman and child that passed by David Dunn during one of the stadium sequences, when the woman
Hmm.
brushes by with the kid and it looks and he hears the sounds of abuse,
Hmm.
that is um, the character, the James McAvoy's character as a kid.
Huh.
And so that was the fan theory, and then Shyamalan later on said, yes, that's what that was meant to be. Whether or not it's true or not,
Hmm.
you know, it could be open to interpretation. But I
Sure.
think that's a neat that if he did intend that to be something that he picked up on later, that's great. That's an interesting, twist on that, especially because he did have to wait so long to make a sequel on it.
Yeah.
So,
I was reading about the production, that I think he had originally intended the antagonist at the end to be that character. Um,
the Beast.
so I the beast. So I
Yeah.
don't that kind of takes away his his point of like, yeah,
Right.
that was intentional.
Well,
But
the from what I understand, the original script was supposed to be a three-act structure.
mhm,
That I think that but he ended up lopping off the last two-thirds and focusing just on the hero's beginning part of
mhm,
it, and then just beefed up that as the full script. So that could have been
okay,
part of that original script, and then
got
that's
it.
where
Yeah.
it ends up becoming that part. Um, so I think that's generally all it was. Um, but it is interesting to see that because I know because even back then he had said that he wanted to do this as a trilogy, that it was always intended as a trilogy. Um, once he had chopped up that script.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know. I think it's a very effective movie. I love that, he goes through all this discovering of his powers. You know, like we already mentioned, the sequence where he gets more and more weights put on. Um, there's another cut sequence where he goes to the gym at the stadium.
Hmm.
And he goes and puts on a bunch of weights, and he's in there and a bunch of the players are in there and everything like that, but he goes over and puts on a bunch of weights and lifts one up and puts it back down, and he counts up how much it was, and it was like 500 pounds.
Hmm.
Because he just didn't, or because at home he didn't have enough weight to be
Hmm.
able to see how much more he could do. But as he sits up, you see everybody is now looking at him,
Hmm.
and they're all just amazed. They're like, "Oh my god, he's super strong. What the hell's going on?" And then he just picks up his shirt and leaves.
Hmm.
But it was a great sequence. I understand again why it was cut, but it's like one of those things where you just like it deepens that extra amount of what exactly his power is.
Yeah.
It's definitely, he's obviously very strong, very resilient. He's never been hurt or sick. Um, and then he's got this extra power of being able to like see badness in people, which I thought was
Hmm.
interesting. Um, because at first it's just like he gets just a sense, like quick glimpses of something, and then you see him later on, he gets some additional glimpses, and then like when he's in the train station, he's getting like full sequences now
Hmm.
of things. And I love that sequence too because it's got such a like that's one of the great pieces of the score that's going on as well. It's just So good.
Yeah, it almost
Um,
gets a little matrixy.
yeah.
The beat. When we
Yes.
get the opening credits, I was like, oh, this feels like Rob Dugan here. All right.
No, and of course, being just a year after The Matrix too, I'm sure that played a little bit of into it as well. But I also think it was just kind of like, his version of what a superhero score could be like.
Mhm. Sure.
Um,
Oh,
you
there's a
know,
quiet intensity to it,
oh
which
yeah, definitely.
is great.
But yeah, no, I love that sequence in the train station because he's seeing people doing some bad, bad stuff. And it's like he's overwhelmed by it. Like that's he ends up like backing up and then backs into the maintenance guy who he ends up seeing like the worst thing from that
Hmm.
he had taken over this family's house and was hurting them. Which leads into the him becoming the hero that he needs to be of that moment. Which is a great sequence. The big action piece of the movie, which isn't very actiony anyway, but it's just
No,
enough.
but it does feel very comic booky
Yes,
in a suspenseful way, which
right,
is great.
yeah. Um, and he previous to that, we find out that he had drowned as a kid, which plays into this end part that water is his weakness, and that if he could potentially drown. Um, and that plays into kind of his costume, quote unquote costume as well, because he's wearing that security rain poncho
Mhm.
throughout, which is his like his outfit of choice, I guess, because for lack of anything else.
Mhm.
Um, but it's I don't know, it's I don't know. The sequence is really well done. It's very suspenseful, very in keeping kind of with the horror elements that he'd already established in The Sixth Sense. Um, very dark. Like
Yeah.
as far as like superhero stories go, it's probably one of the darker stories that we'll ever get in terms of a superhero movie.
Um, I think realistic superhero movie
Right.
also because Watchmen is extremely dark.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and that's like I also think of that being
Yeah.
somewhat similar in tone, but
Right.
um, but as far as I'm gonna harp on it because this is after watching it, you know, start to see the little things, the inconsistency,
Sure.
the Shyamalan stuff, and the guy knocking on the door and being like, "I like your house," is not how I remember our villain introducing himself into that sequence and like taking over the house. And I'm kind of like, that's it. Like, yeah, he does some really like heinous shit later,
Right.
but his just I like your house
Yes.
was really I'm like, okay. The thing that does bug me about M. Night Shyamalan's films, and there's a little bit of this in every film he does, is that he almost doesn't know how people talk to each other. And in some scenes, like he gets the dialogue spot on, it's great. But in other
Right.
scenes, it just feels not natural. And this is one of those examples. The other example is the scene where the kid picks up the gun and
Mm,
is aiming it at his dad, wanting to prove that he's, you know, a superhero. And there is a very rapid sequence of like reactions that
right.
Bruce goes through that don't feel right. Like goes from like begging and pleading to uh you're going to be in big trouble, young man, like, and
Right.
then oh, God, there was something weird that he did too. Friends don't shoot each other, and then he looks at his wife and goes, right? And you're like, what? And I kind of had a disconnection there because of that.
Right.
Um and I really think, again, if some dialogue pieces had been just a little more natural, uh
Right.
I would have been able to have stayed in it. Um
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. That definitely had a like a stilted quality to it. Like maybe it was just yeah, it just it I think it's one of those sequences where it's probably just hard to figure out exactly the right tone to give it. Um but you know, it's just yeah, it's a weird sequence. I get the reasoning behind doing it, but yeah, it definitely came off weirdly stilted at times. So I agree with you. It definitely. But
yeah.
again, I think that's where Shyamalan's a good writer of stories, not always the best in terms of dialogue for sure.
Yeah.
I
That's
definitely agree that there are moments in every one of his movies where you're kind of taken out, where there's a line that just it doesn't make sense. And you just like, but for the most part, I'm just like, okay, the rest of the movie's fine. I don't care, So
yeah.
you have to forgive it, and I think that's arguably most writers have something similar. It's just you know, not all writers, because some writers are great, but
Yeah. No, yeah, it it was more the kind of thing that, like, I know that that is something that people really pay attention to
right,
now.
yeah,
And having not seen the movie in over 10 years, it was something that I just like noticed upon watching it again. So it's more the idea that, like, I wouldn't have noticed it beforehand without the knowledge that, like, this is something that has just gone on to keep happening.
right, yeah,
And I
exactly. I
think
think it's a
he's
consistent part of the thing that people consistently say about his writing is that there's sometimes an unnatural quality to some of his dialogue.
and I think that he's fully embraced it now.
I
If
think he has too.
that's to
I think
be
that's again why he went into that with the happening and made the dialogue so weird and everything like that. Again, I'm going to argue that to my dying day, but I agree. I think yeah, he kind of leans into it and it's just like I don't care anymore. I'm just going to write what I write and people can like it or not.
yeah.
So um but let's go ahead and unless you have anything else you want to say before we jump into kind of like the twist. Um I'd like to jump into that. Do you have anything else you wanted to mention before that? Okay. So we get to the end. He has his this whole moment where he saves the people and everything it saves the kids. The parents are gone by the time he gets to them. But after he, is home and the family's kind of repairing itself and everything. He goes to see Elijah, who's having this big exhibition that had been mentioned earlier in the movie. Um, and realistically, this movie takes course over it felt like it should have at times it feels like it's taken weeks, but it's really only the course of like a few days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and um, so then he goes to Elijah's and they talk briefly about stuff, and Elijah, wants to take credit for David's, ascension to being a hero. And they shake hands, but as soon as, they shake hands, um, David gets that vision of the things that Elijah has done, and you find out that Elijah is the one who's been behind the train accident, the plane explosion, and the fire in the hotel. Um, and I love that. I love that, and then that whole sequence, like afterward, he's like explains to him how they're opposites, and that's how they, he always knew he was looking for his opposite because he knew he was a villain.
Hmm.
And that, he needed the hero to balance him. And so, um, I just love that ending. It's such a great ending,
Yeah.
for
Yeah, it's a
me.
great one.
It's solidified him as being, and to me, like, it's not even like a twist, like, even with the Sixth Sense and stuff like that. It's just a revelation.
Hmm.
I get that for people it's like, oh, it's another twist, he's becoming the master of the twist ending, and everything. I was like, I get it, but at the same time, it's a natural story revelation that you get in
Hmm.
any other kind of story. um but yeah, it just sets up so much, and it was so disappointing too that it took, I think Split came out in 2019, so it took 19 years for the next movie to come out. And even then, that was a movie that we didn't know was a sequel to Unbreakable. um but yeah, it just, I don't know, for me, like when I originally saw this movie, between this ending, um and just the whole rest of the movie, I just fell in love with it, and I was a fan of this from day one. Despite whatever issues it does have and things that I don't like about it,
Hmm.
I'm still a fan of it.
Yeah.
Even all this time later.
Yeah.
So
No, I liked the ending too. I remember liking it when I first saw it and thought it was cool. I think I have more of a disconnect from it because I did not grow up with comics.
yeah,
So that, love of superheroes was never really another reason to attach myself to this film,
right.
but I did enjoy it, and I really do appreciate what it has done.
Yeah, I did grow up with comic books. And like, you know, because this is pre MCU, this is just before, um, the first X-Men movie had come out earlier that year. Um, and we were just starting to get the inklings of what superhero movies were going to be like. Um, and it was just this like breath of fresh air in terms of like being a comic book fan and seeing, you know, a story that existed in a superhero context that was being taken seriously.
Hmm.
Um, and could show what it could potentially be like, um, what the future of it could be like. And to a degree, like, the legacy of all of this isn't necessarily that they did kind of, they took themselves seriously for a bit. Spider-Man and the X-Men movies were a little bit more serious than, the spandexy, and overly, comic book versions of things, especially in terms of kind of, I mean, even the MCU started out more serious and then kind of gradually got, um,
Yeah,
more comic book like.
the
And
marketing
and
machine.
well, I think even just beyond that, just introducing the more fantastical elements, and doing the things that might have come off as silly before. And I think I think that by going this route, by kind of grounding it more, and I would say, Blade and even the first Batman movies, um, kind of helped ground it in a way that, putting it in a reality, that kind of helped legitimize, comic book movies in a way that helped make it more palatable for audiences going forward,
Hmm.
and made it a viable, um, way to make the movies, and made it so the studios could embrace that in a way that they hadn't before, because like everything prior to this, for the most part, came across as too silly, or they tried to do it like, um, they always try to do it way too silly. Like, there's a Captain America movie that came out in the 90s that was just overly silly. Um, Howard the Duck, all these things that came out like beforehand that, they tried to do it. They even with Batman and even with Superman, where the first couple of movies of both of those were very much kind of more serious, and then they would devolve into more silly.
Yep.
Um, and because, the studio is just like, well, we want to sell toys.
Yeah.
So,
That's the
um, yeah, and that's always going to be the crux of it, and I like that, with this movie, they didn't really try to do anything, even though the movie was successful. They didn't try to. I wish they'd gotten out a sequel earlier, but I guess, in a way, it worked out in its own time, because I don't think Split would have been as successful as it would have been eventually.
yeah.
Um, and so I don't know. I appreciate this for what it is. I think it's interesting too. They had gotten Alex Ross, who is a very famous comic book paint artist, to do artwork for the movie, and for like the DVD release.
Oh, cool.
Um, yeah, so the image of David in the newspaper at the end, that's
Hmm.
actually artwork from Alex Ross.
Oh, cool.
Um, yeah, and so he was very well known at the time for having done a couple of very high profile stories at both Marvel and DC. Um, and So it was great that they, connected with that and had put out something like this. They put out a really good DVD at the time. Um,
Mm.
so it was really cool. But yeah, I don't know. I love this movie. I think it's really well done. I think it deserves definitely a watch. And it deserves, probably more accolades than it gets,
Mm.
in terms of, being one of the earliest um like comic book related films.
Yeah.
And helping to kind of legitimize what was to come later. So uh, what are your final thoughts on
I mean, very similar. It
it?
is not I think that it has a cult following,
Right,
and but it again, it's not certainly not one of the films that gets brought up most of the time when you're thinking about superhero films, because there's just been such
right,
a proliferation of Marvel and DC
right.
films since then. And I I think I have to say that all of the superhero films that I prefer are on the earlier end. Um, and especially this one, because it's not about the glitz and the glamour and showing off special effects and
Right,
superpowers. It's about the genesis of these characters becoming a hero and a villain,
right.
in a very realistic world, um, where it's easy to empathize with them. So
Yeah,
that's, I like that a lot. And
yeah.
I think that people, if you haven't seen it, you really should see it. In
Oh yeah,
fact, it's
absolutely.
you can stream it right now on Hulu if you haven't.
Yes, yeah, definitely, definitely, yeah. I mean, I think at least um, check it out if you haven't watched it. If you haven't watched it, you shouldn't have even listened to this episode yet, because we spoil things. But yeah, definitely give it a listen. I agree with you. I think that in terms of like, I'm a big fan of the comic book movies, specifically the MCU. Um, I I love what they're doing. You know, good and bad. Um, but part of that's because I've been a big comic book fan all my life, and getting to finally see these characters up on the screen is a big deal. But as far as like importance and weight go, definitely this one feels like it should be bigger than it is. Always has felt like it should have been bigger than it was. Um, but and hopefully someday it will be. Um, but I do think it's been overshadowed a lot by, MCU and other things that have, taken what it did and did it in their own way as well.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, no, I hope people will go back and revisit it. I think that's, kind of the fun of me going back and revisiting these movies as well, is because it has been a while since I've seen a lot of these movies. And just, getting a chance to reevaluate, even for myself. I know that some of these movies have been reappraised in recent years, and people have gone back and gone, okay, these movies are actually a lot better than we thought they were originally. So,
Mhm.
which I'm glad to see. It's always good to see people um, giving things another chance. So, but that's all I have. Why don't you let people know where they can find you online, and anything else you'd like to plug, in addition to your newest book that's about to come out?
Sure. So you can find me on uh most readily available on Instagram or Blue Sky. I am also on Threads and Facebook. Um, and in addition to my book that's coming out with Trueborn Press, I also have a special edition omnibus of the Deadlands, which would be Undead Folk, Dead Folk, and Nothing Land, which is coming out at the end of September. That special edition is sold exclusively through my online shop, and it is going to be available with a new jacketed hardcover with new art on it, and it's going to have 2 unreleased short stories in it, and playlists, and all kinds of other fun surprises. So
I saw that on your website today. I was like, oh, that's really cool. So if I had money, I would definitely get that, but I have no money currently.
I
But you said
understand that.
it's like a limited edition, right? Like I think 50 copies, you said?
Yeah,
That's
yep.
cool.
I did this before for The Wild Dark. I did a special edition of that too. I
Okay.
love doing special edition books. There's
Oh
so much.
yeah. No, I love getting them when I can. But yeah, no, that's very awesome. Um, cool. Well, I very much appreciate you coming on and talking Unbreakable with me. It was great having you on again. Um,
Well, thank you for inviting me.
yeah. And hopefully we can get you on again sometime soon, and we can talk maybe another horror movie. Um,
Yeah,
something interesting. Um, but yeah. Well, I appreciate it, and thank you again, and we'll see you soon.
awesome. Sounds good.
Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is produced and hosted by Robert Clark. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast by going to creepyandgeeky.com and clicking on any of the social links. If you'd like to follow me, you can find my links at geekthulu.com. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.